Sirls, founder and owner of the Crafted Pen and host of the Small Business Radio Detroit. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to sit down today and to be airing this wonderful episode with Remy Sirls. She is the founder and CEO of Intent Consulting. Remy is a strategist, a builder, and a change maker, and she is helping organizations grow with purpose, equity, and sustainability. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about building with intent. Remy's going to be talking about challenges that she's currently facing in her business and how she's turning barriers into bridges for small businesses and nonprofits. So we're super duper excited to get her insight through grant writing, strategic planning, governance training, nonprofit development. I mean, you name it. Remy's company has turned big ideas into real world impact. Okay. So, in today's conversation, again, we're going to explore her personal journey, sift through some strategies that nonprofits can utilize today, especially with the federal funding being cut at the top. There's really some strategic planning that needs to come into play. So she'll be giving us some nuggets and some quick gems there. So we want to know what's next for Intent Consulting, and she's also going to be sharing that with us. So if you're ready to stop operating on survival mode and start building with intention, this episode is for you. So let's hop in. I want to say thank you so much for devoting your time today to be able to sit down and come on Small Business Radio Detroit to tell us more about your story. As I was already mentioning, you have a really strong background with in grant writing, strategic planning, governance training, as well as nonprofit development. And we're just really excited to hear more about Intent Consulting. So tell me, how did you get Intent Consulting started?
Yeah, thank you, Marlo. I'm so happy to be here. So thank you for taking the time. So I've worked my whole career in the not-for-profit sector. Right out of college, I went to Wayne State. The girl from Brightmoor went to Wayne State.
Okay.
Hit basketball, came out of school. Yeah. Stayed in the city. Went to Canada for a little while. My mother was Canadian, like so many people here. Went back and forth. But started off working at Wayne State on a project that helps men and women who are living with HIV and AIDS get back into society after coming out of prison. So that project right off the bat kind of threw me into the deep end of sort of working with marginalized, underserved communities, especially across the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan. So that kind of got my feet wet. I started working on that very large project, sort of a four-state project with the federal government at the time and the university, and fell in love with the work, fell in love with the idea that we can do so much. We grew up like a lot of us did without having a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I forget my mother would say all the time, we might not have a whole lot, but we can do a whole lot. So even if
Yes.
we don't have things to give, we don't have money to give, we have time. So
Yes.
we have our prayers, we have our hearts, we have something else that we can give back. And that stuck with me. And so yeah, I spent the last nearly 20 years now working within the sector, everything, like I said, from public health and access to healthcare programs to working with seniors and access to care and supports for seniors, to youth, marginalized and underserved youth who are already struggling day to day with all kinds of challenges, to women and children. I ran a shelter for women and kids for a long time. Came back to Detroit, working with DPS CD Foundation. Moved to Texas for a little while, worked with United Way out
Oh,
there,
wow.
was VPF United Way out there, and then came back home last summer and started working with the Detroit Parent Network, and then started Intent. Again, very intentionally. The name is intentional,
Yes.
and thinking about how we are intentional in this work, and in empowering people to do the things that they do best.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing that very inspiring story. For me, I know firsthand that, I mean, number one, kudos to you. Over 20 years in the field, it's apparent even from conversations that you and I've had that you are truly an expert in this field and in this particular lane. So big ups to you for, and your mom, hey, what a great woman she was. Obviously a great
She
woman you
was.
turned out to be. So that's amazing. And when you talk about intent, why is the word intent so central to your brand's identity and mission?
Mhm. I think that when we talk about specifically communities of color, communities of that don't always have access to the same things, to the same resources, to the same information, we oftentimes have this sort of communities can have this kind of savior complex. Let me come in and just save you. Let me give you some things. Let me give you a house. Let me give you a car. Am I so great? I'm such a hero. I fixed this thing. To me, I feel like just personally, that's not an intentional way of thinking about how it is that we change something. Um, if our intention is to do better, our intention is to change
Yes.
the systematic and the societal things that cause things like systemic generational poverty, things that cause things like mass incarceration, things that cause things like voter apathy, things that cause things like addiction
Yes.
and homelessness. When we think about those things, there's not an easy solution, right? So we have to be very thoughtful and intentional about how we come up with those solutions. And throwing a band-aid at it isn't the answer. It never is the answer. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever seen it work. So
I agree with that.
right, right. Haven't been there, right? You understand the same idea, sort of coming from a place where where you need every resource that you can get. You need every possible option that you can come across. Somebody throwing a car at you or a house at you or just here, go do the thing without knowing how to do it. I talk about this with community gardens as an example. We put these gardens in neighborhoods, and isn't it so great? I don't know about you, but I'm from Finkel. I didn't know what artichoke was. I didn't know how to make asparagus. I didn't know what
Right.
that was. We put these gardens in neighborhoods and then expect people to eat these fruits and vegetables that they know how to cook, that they don't know what they are. And they're, isn't it so great? I gave you access to food. But did you? Did you teach me how to do it? Did you teach me how to grow my own food? Did you teach me
Right.
how to make something that is culturally relevant to me? Did you teach me how to do something that my kids can then learn about? Or teach me something new, which is also good.
Yes.
So it's a long answer to a short question, but that's kind of why that intention is so important to me. I think that we can do some things sometime with a good heart and a good intention. It doesn't always work out the way that we plan to, but that intention was pure. And so
Yes.
that's where it comes from. And it is in everything that we do.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And I truly believe that being intentional about everything you do is so important on every single level. Just
Right.
breathing. Be
Right.
intentional. So
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
really, really love that and I adore that. And it sounds like a lot of the concepts and even the brand, because I always say your brand is a reflection of you, right? There's always a person behind the brand. You are the brand. So thinking about being intentional, how do you feel that your life experiences have influenced the way that you approach relationships with clients or approach or come up with those methodologies to help organizations to grow?
Mm. It's everything, Marlo. It's everything. That experience is what take a little bit every time, right? You take a little bit from
Yes.
every personal experience, every professional experience, every one-off experience with strangers. All of that culminates into the answer that you give right now today, right? All of my experiences have culminated in my ability to answer this question right now, right?
Yeah.
Um, that is, it's everything. I see person behind the data that we collect. I see mom and her kids struggling in every dollar that we raise. I see an entrepreneur trying to do what they can and start their business and just try
Yeah.
to get out of that cyclical poverty and do something differently that is totally foreign to them. I see it in the kid who goes to college for the first time, that first generation kid who is trying to do something that nobody in his family knows how to help with.
Right.
I see it in newcomers, right? And new people trying to come from an entirely different country and a different language and a different culture and a different food and everything else and trying to make it work. Um, I see it in all of that. So all of those experiences is what I bring to my clients in the work that we do. I would say, we work collectively. If we're on and I feel like that's the definition of empowerment. That's what intent tries to do is empower nonprofits and small businesses to do the work that they know how to do. I don't need
Yeah.
to tell you how to run your business, right? That's not my job.
Right.
My job is to point out things along the way, right? If you want to look over here, here's an option. If you want to look over here, you might want to take a look at that. What you do with that is up to you, right? And there's absolutely no judgment in that whatsoever. It's just options. It's just saying that's what access is, right? It's saying you're your own person. I don't need saving. You don't need saving. Our communities don't need saving in that way. What we need is information. We need access. We need the opportunity to be able to do more. And that's what we try to do.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm just again super excited to have you on because this so many people are in a panic right now about the federal what's happening in Washington, right? The federal funding being cut, money that's being allocated, they're trying to retract and pull back. So thinking about that, thinking about your business overall with that in place, what current challenges would you say that intent is kind of facing at this time? What obstacles and hurdles are you overcoming?
People are scared, Carla. That's it more than anything else. People are, when it comes to nonprofits, for instance, everyone's goal and dream is to sort of have an operating reserve. If you can have an operating reserve that allows you to have 3 to 4 months of paying the bills, paying your staff, making sure that you have that backup in case funding gets cut for some reason, is kind of the goal. I say this to my clients all the time. I think one of the biggest things right now for nonprofits to really focus on, and it should be the case outside of this government and this policy, is that because anything can happen, but diversifying your funding, diversifying where your money is coming from. 33, 33, 33 is always sort of the goal. So
Yes.
many folks will apply to grant on grant on grant on grant. That's not sustainable. It's dollars in the door right now, possibly. Maybe it doesn't even fit your mission, but it's dollars that you can use to pay your staff. It's dollars you can use to pay the light bill. It's dollars you can use to help these kids in the after school program. But
Yes.
it's not when that funding is gone in a year, in 2 years, there's no such thing as evergreen funding really anymore. No one really does that anymore. So how do you manage that? And you're scrambling every year, every 2 years. In a situation like this one, if you've got 80% of your funding that's coming from grants, that some of those grant dollars are coming from government, you're nervous right now.
Yes.
Very nervous. So diversifying the way that those funding streams look, and we can talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but that's what people are scared about. Sort of how do they do that? Do they
Yes.
have the money to even hire staff to help to do that, to have the expertise in place to do that? What if they have to lay off people? What if how do they make difficult decisions about growing, about expanding, about providing their core services? That's what people are nervous about.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And thank you for that. The 33, 33, 30, 33 is such a great plan. Like you said,
Hmm.
even with building credit, you want to diversify
Right?
everything. Even with a stock market portfolio, you want it to be
Hmm.
diversified. We never want to
Exactly.
put eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yes.
Right?
So
So 33% grant funding, 33%
yes,
individual gifts, 33% major gifts or recurring gifts.
yes,
That looks different depending on the organization. Not everybody's going to be able to have a strong legacy giving program, right? It takes 7, 8 years to build a legacy donor, right? It takes a long time to build relationships with major donors.
yes,
Can take some time to build grant relationships with especially
yes,
when you're looking at sort of state level foundations and things like that. But individual giving, I say this all the time, Marlo, the number one reason why people give to a nonprofit is because somebody asked. That's it.
right,
Not
yes,
because somebody gave a flashy presentation or made them cry or made them think about their grandma's sister's cousin and
yes,
cancer and babies and puppies. It's not even necessarily about that.
yes,
It's about you asked. Okay. I never
yes,
forget, I have a story for everything, but I
yes,
was working at this shelter. We were trying to build a new shelter, and it was a shelter that provided temporary and shelter housing and then long-term housing for women who are experiencing homelessness, not because of domestic violence, but because of poverty
yes,
and or addiction. And it's not an easy group of folks to raise funds for, right? It's not puppies, it's not babies, it's not cancer, it's not any of those things. It's poverty.
right,
And if you don't have some experience with that, you have no empathy for somebody who's in that
exactly.
situation. So it was hard to raise those dollars. We needed $5.5 million pretty quickly. We got it. Yay, new shelter is built. All
Yes,
was good. But I'll never forget going to this guy and I was like, I know you got it. Like, look,
yes,
this is the situation. He knew nothing about housing. He was a businessman who knew nothing about
yes,
anything that was outside of his purview. And I was like, bro, like I know you got I
yes,
need a check. He's like, how much? Tell me how much and I'll write it.
yes,
Clearly this is important. I don't know anything about it, but nobody asked. Like if somebody would have asked me for my help, I would have given it. It's like, thank you for the
yes.
check and gave me $50,000. Like
Wow.
that's,
Yes.
yeah, people will give if you ask. Um, and then thinking, and we can talk about that a little bit more, but sort of the ways to do that, and how to get
Yes, that
creative
was
a
gonna
little bit about that.
that was definitely gonna be my next question. I mean, I'm getting so excited because I'm all about self-sufficiency, sustainability, like you said, not just putting a band-aid on things, but really
Yeah.
getting to the root to see real
Yeah.
traction. So sustainability is such a major focus for intent. How would you recommend organizations begin to shift from just surviving on those federal grants into building more long-term sustainable
Mm.
models?
One of my favorite things to do, and I think one of the most low-hanging fruit, and the easiest thing to do is a monthly giving program. If you can, I always say, if I'd rather have 100 people give me $1 than one person give me 100. The
Yes.
resources in those people. If you can give me $1, maybe you only have five, but you
Right.
gave me one. So you care deeply about the thing that we're doing. Maybe you know somebody else who maybe has 20. Maybe that person knows somebody who has 50. The resources in those people and in what they can bring to the table in their expertise, their organization, their networks. So building a network of monthly donors, you know that it's sustainable. It's at minimum for a year, right? If someone's giving you a credit card, it's
Yeah.
not expired. You don't have to worry about that expiring right away. You can talk to them, build that relationship, continue that on, even if it's $20 a month. You know for sure if you have 100 people that are giving you $20 a month, you know you got that $2,000 every single month. And that's something you can depend on, something you
Yeah.
can count on. A strong and robust monthly giving program where people can give in multiple ways is number one. Number two, I would say to invest in building a CRM. Data, and I will repeat it until I'm blue in the face. But data is important because data. So having strong information, knowing who your donors are, knowing where they are, knowing what they're giving to, what did they do before? People aren't giving in the same way that they used to. They're not just sort of giving to their local United Way every week and at the workplace campaign. That's not how people are functioning anymore. People want to get engaged. They want to have opportunities to work with the agencies that they care about, right? If it's a Boys and Girls Club, cool. Maybe somebody wants to be able to come and volunteer. They want to come and tutor somebody for a little while. Maybe come play basketball with some kids.
Yeah.
Give donors an opportunity to engage with the folks that they want to that they care about, and that is important
Yes.
to them. Um, so building a database of data that has all of that information, knowing everything about your donors, those are your family, right? Those are relationships. There's not people that you have in your life that you only know, this is your name, this is your email address, and this is where you live. No,
Yes.
you know their birthdays, you know who their family is, you
Exactly.
know, right? You know what they care about. So give them opportunities to do that. Know your donors. There are several CRM systems that, and I know that sounds scary for a lot of small nonprofits,
Yeah.
but they can be free. Um, they're not hard to build. You definitely need some expertise to build it.
Yeah.
But we do some of that. And there are others who do it, whether us or somebody else. They could help you to build your capacity to get that data and to communicate more effectively based on accurate information, whether it's donor data, if it's program data, if it is demographic, whatever that looks like, whatever KPIs you're looking at or whatever data sets you're collecting, knowing what that is and knowing how to access it and knowing how to visualize it is incredibly important. You want to be able to tell a donor, hey, look, $20 is going to get food for 7 kids for 3 days over here from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday.
Right.
And
Exactly.
this is what they're going to eat, right? And that's what your
Yes.
money did. And you can do that.
Right.
It's very easy to sort of break that down. So think through that, right? Think about how to better communicate with donors. Get yourself a CRM. HubSpot is free. Salesforce is free. It's not easy to build. Yes, you need to get someone to build it for you, but once it's done, it's done.
Yes.
So investing in a CRM system, even something simple makes sense. Have good material. There's
Yes.
no reason to have a website that's not updated or to have
Right.
information that's not accurate, have typos on things, basic things that a lot of folks make mistakes in because you're busy worried about trying to make sure that Jimmy got
Exactly.
his homework done after school. You're not worried about your website right now. And that's cool. That's your job and that's great and that's great. But it's the kind of things that donors are looking at and they're like, they can't even fix their website. Why would I give them money?
Why
Can
would I
they
give
really
them?
help these kids
Yeah.
out? And they're not right, but that's what they
Right.
think because it's the perception. And then lastly, your unconventional ways of giving. There are a lot of ways, it's tax time. We got a
Yeah.
couple days for people to get to, or
Right.
a day, actually, a day, unless you got an extension to get your taxes in. Um, there are multiple ways for people to be able to give to get tax deductions, and not just a regular tax receipt, not just a regular here's your gift for your 501(c)(3). There are donor advised funds, there are legacy give. You can give insurance policies that while you're still alive before life insurance policies. There are a ton of alternative ways for people to give that actually are a tax break for that individual.
Right.
Learning and knowing all of those different, more
Exactly.
unconventional kind of ways is incredibly important because you want to give people options. You want to be
Yes.
able to say, hey, if you don't have 10,000 right now, Mrs. Smith, you know what? Here's another couple of options that you have. Here's what you could do. Could you break it up? Could you do A, B, and C? Do you have this, that, and that without trying to be in your pocket? But if you have good data, you're already in that pocket, so you already know what they have. So then you
Exactly.
are really sort of seeing what what they care about. Know the folks you're talking to, right? Um, Not everyone is going to care about women experiencing homelessness
Right.
or kids with cancer. You don't have any personal affinity to that. Maybe you just don't care, and that's not going to move you to give.
Exactly.
Find the thing that does
Right.
something. They care about something. So find
Exactly.
that thing, and I guarantee you it can come full circle.
Yes.
Ultimately, if you're talking about childhood diabetes, right? Just as an example, my kid doesn't have diabetes. Why do I care about somebody else's kid who has diabetes? Is what a sort of a donor is thinking, potentially. You might not care about that, but do you care about how much taxes you pay?
Right.
Build that story for them. The amount of money that it costs to take care of a child who is diabetic or pre-diabetic, the amount of money that it costs to educate them because now they're not going to school regularly because they can't go because they're sick and their mother can't afford their insulin, so now they're at home. And now, because they didn't get a good education, now they can't go to college. Now they work at McDonald's where they make $7 an hour. Now,
Exactly.
now they're getting state benefits. And you're paying for that, Mrs. Smith. You're paying for that out of your taxes. And around and around and around you go. Let's not talk about the cost of incarcerating people because they can't get good jobs. That's a whole other conversation. But the
Yes.
cost of taking care of society, not taking care of, but that we're putting back into society, speak to whatever matters to that person. That is a valid thing to care about, right? So
Absolutely.
listen to people and think about it.
And it's that storytelling. I say to everyone I meet, until I started to actually tell my story and my journey, my business relationships were just kind of just plateaued, just level. When I really started to open up and share my journey and paint that picture for my clients, not even just about who I am and how I came into this space, but also paint a picture for them. Like, imagine
Yes,
this, that really makes a huge difference, the storytelling, and really
I agree
down
completely.
people in microscopic. Sometimes you have to break it down because people just don't see the vision. They don't really see where they're aligned with that mission. But like you said, helping them, I always say, I help your client help you.
Exactly, exactly.
However you can do that. And I love that. I love how everything you're doing, it's no wonder that you're so great with strategic planning, having that very intentional and focused mindset. So thinking about strategic planning a little more, why do you think so? You gave great strategies, very great strategies, very great techniques and tips that they could use to help to sustain and be able
Hmm.
to diversify themselves. So when you think about that, why do you think so many organizations struggle to stick to their strategy once it's
Hmm.
written? Because
Because
I've
they need
written
money.
strategies a
That is
million.
100% the reason because they need money. 99% of the time, Marlo, there's a grant opportunity. I'm struggling. I know that I'm a couple months behind and it's the end of quarter two. I know that I'm a little bit behind and that money that I thought was coming in December is not coming.
Yes,
So I need $150,000 right now. I need to figure something out. Look at that. There's a grant opportunity. There's an RFP that just came out.
right.
Doesn't totally fit. And I know that our strategic vision, it means that we have to do A, B, C, D, and E. I'm going to forget about that for a second because I need this money. I'm going to
Yes,
make our programs fit because we really, really need this. And I don't want to lay off John and Susan.
exactly.
So we apply. We make it work. We got some good people on our team that can write a story and we get the grant.
Yes,
And then we do that again and again and again. And now your mission drift is so significant because you were chasing dollars without chasing your mission. So
exactly.
that mission drift can happen so quickly, and 99% of the time it's because of funding. Because you tried to get some dollars that were needed because you needed it right now, and there's nothing that's valid, right? You
Right.
needed that money. You were going to have to lay people off, or you weren't going to be able to provide services to people. But that's how mission drift starts to happen, and it happens like that,
Yes,
like that.
yes. And I agree because when you're applying for a grant, your program has to be aligned with the organization's mission, vision, and
Exactly.
objectives. Like whoever's giving you
Exactly.
the money, you have to be aligned. And if it's just a little off this time and a little more off that time, now you've gotten so
Now
far
you,
away
what are you doing?
from
Now you're a
growth.
whole other organization,
Yeah,
right? I say this all the time. Like, let's not, and a lot of people will do that, and you will find people that will write you grants from here to Tuesday. Go for it. You
yeah,
know, I'm happy to say no.
right.
If I don't believe in the thing that we're doing and I don't know that it's totally good, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to be, again, it's about having intention. If my intention is to help you, and I know that even though this is what you want, it's actually not helpful, I'm not doing what I job, my job. I'm not doing the thing that I know how to do. And I'm not being honest to be real about it. So I always say to clients, look, when you're looking at grants specifically, know your mission, know your strategy inside out. Know what is your board saying? How engaged are they? What do they
Yeah,
want to see happen? What does your community want to see happen? Do you have people that you're serving at the table telling
yeah,
you and helping to make those decisions instead of some folks that are so far removed and work at every bank known to man and are not having anything to
right.
do with your program? Just fine, you need them on the board, but also community voice matters. So
Yes,
stand on that soapbox. But um how do we then go find a funder? Now we know exactly what we want to do. We know exactly what our gap is. We know exactly what we need to have funded. We need this much money to do this thing to serve these people and have this outcome. Let me
yes,
go find a funder that will do that. And I
yes,
guarantee you that you will. Instead of out here chasing the other way around, RFP after RFP after RFP, and trying to make your program fit. It's not
ex-
ever going to work. It's not going to be sustainable.
exactly. And it's exhausting having to constantly tweak the program to fully be aligned with that.
Mhm.
Very
I
exhausting.
know we serve kids that are 14 to 18, but this one is 13 to 19. So let's change.
Exactly. Exactly. Now
Now
you're
we have
re
to change all our literature because now
yes,
apparently we
exactly.
serve this age group, right?
Reinvent the wheel over
Yeah.
and over. Yes.
And around you go. Yeah.
Yes. Because I always encourage clients to create a master template. And your master template, your master grant template is ineffective if you're just going to change it to align with every different program. So
Hello.
yes. Love it.
I'm
Love
with you. I'm with you, Marlo. I'm with you.
Yes, so yes, big ups to you again, Remy. Your advice is invaluable and we really appreciate you sharing all those tips and strategies, especially in today's economy right now when so many people are freaking out. So really, really thank you for that. So just to get a little bit more deeper into what big moves
Mhm.
Intent Consulting is making, tell us about some of the things that's new and exciting that's happening at Intent Consulting.
I would love to. I love to share good news. So, I always like to share the good news of our clients. And there's two things that I kind of want to share. One is a collaborative that we pulled together because I think that collaboration works and it matters when people are trying to do like things.
Yeah.
Detroit has got one of the highest rates of not for profits in the country. It's like top 10
Yes.
in the country. We have a lot. We have a lot. And it's good, but
Yes.
sometimes working collaboratively can actually get more dollars in the door, can be more effective and can serve more people more holistically. So
Yes.
we pulled together a really cool collaboration with five of our clients who do adjacent kind of work, I'll call it,
Okay.
that all service young moms but that do it in a different kind of a way. One is a doula. One does wellness services and yoga programming.
Wow.
Yeah, we have some really, really cool. Hey, Black Girl, I'm just going to shout them out because they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yoga and wellness for sort of young Black girls is it's just amazing. We have another one that sort of focuses on anti-bullying and self-esteem. So doing hair, doing nails, helping you to just look better, feel better kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another one who does childcare literacy programming specifically for those pre-K kids. And then workforce development for young moms, teaching them skilled trades, getting them into jobs and housing. So we
Yeah.
pulled all these folks together, doing all these kind of bits and pieces all over the place and built this collaborative to say, okay, look, how do we leverage all of this great work and actually provide services for one person in a holistic way? Can they come to one spot, get all these different things, not have to go over here to my doula, not have to go over here for lactation help, not have to go over here for my child care and everything else. And also, I'm a new mom, so I haven't had a shower in 3 days and haven't done my hair in 2 months, right? We've all been there. But yeah, so I'm super excited about that. We are building funding for that right now. And then I'll share one more thing. We are working with a fantastic organization, Redeem Detroit. Redeem is over on the east side, run by Pastor Alonzo Bell, who is just a phenomenal human being. And he has a really cool program where we take young women, young moms specifically, sort of 13 to 24,
Yes.
who are parents in whatever permutation that looks like, one, two, however many, doesn't matter.
Yes.
But say you're a young mom. If you're not working, teaching them skill trades, providing childcare for them while they're there, teaching them skill trades. We then buy houses from the land bank that
Wow.
are uninhabited. We start to do training at those houses that are dilapidated, that need renovation. And
Yes.
those are the houses that we use to do the training for the skill trades for the girls.
Okay.
So contractors come in, they help the girls, they teach them, they fix the houses up. We just sold. We had a girl who was in the program who was squatting in a house with her 3-year-old.
Wow.
She was a squatter in that house for 6 months. She had no place else to be. Had come out of a really awful relationship, was stealing electricity from the house next door, and was squatting in this house for months. Found her, got her into the program. She
Yes.
now owns that house.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that is
Wow.
yeah, full circle. She is a licensed carpenter now. She fixed up the house. The girls helped her do it, and she owns it. We were able to work with a mortgage company, get her $25,000 down for first time home buyers, down payment. If anybody is a first time home buyer and you're looking at trying to find affordable housing, that is a phenomenal program. So please reach out if somebody is looking or if you have clients that aren't looking.
Yes.
Got her a $25,000 mortgage. It's all she mortgaged. She's paying $300 a month
Wow.
to live in a house she used to squat in.
Yes. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing
Now she's
work.
25 and owns a house. Yeah. That's
Yes.
the kind of thing that's our why, right? That
Yes.
that changes everything. That changes everything and
Definitely.
it makes the hard days a little bit easier. So yeah, I always like to share good news. So that's what we got going on. We are working on developing some workshops for nonprofits and small businesses,
Okay.
specifically around infrastructure. I keep seeing over and over and over again, folks have bits and pieces. They don't have a comprehensive infrastructure. They want to write a grant. They want to get a program. They want to get some money in the door. They want to do this. They have a good heart. This is all good. But there's no infrastructure. There's no solid foundation to be
Yes.
able to build from. Because if you got the money, if you're a business and now you see it all the time, right? You sell t-shirts. You
Yeah.
sold 50 t-shirts in the last month. That's cool. Somebody blows you up on Instagram. Now you want to sell 500 t-shirts, but now you don't have the t-shirts because you weren't
Right.
planning on making that many. You didn't have the infrastructure in place. Same idea with nonprofits.
Yes.
Um, you want to do all these things. Okay, now you have the money. You got the grant. You got $200,000. Do you know what compliance is? Do you know what
Right.
data collection is? Do you have the financial management in
Reporting.
place to be able to
Federal reporting.
right? So trying to do a workshop for nonprofits and small businesses around compliance, around yes, now you have the money. How do you build the infrastructure to make sure that you sustain that? Because I feel like it's the non-sexy part of the work that's kind of missing.
Yes.
Nobody wants to talk about board governance and financial management, but it's necessary and it's what will keep you around for 50 for 100 years, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's going to keep you sustainable. So yeah, we are excited about that. We'll launch that in the next couple of months.
Awesome.
So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, we've got a couple new clients coming on board that we're excited to work with that are doing some really cool events this summer. I will send you those as soon as those are ready.
Awesome.
And yeah, good people doing good work. We're very, very humbled and blessed to be able to do this work in this way.
Definitely,
So
absolutely.
grateful.
And
Yeah,
it all comes down to the work that we're doing here on Small Business Radio Detroit, the work that you're doing at Intent Consulting, the work that your clients are doing, right? It's all about community. It's all about banding together, even the program that you're launching to help them to grow that infrastructure. Well, guess what? At the same time, it's building that community. So, how do you see moving forward? How do you see Intent Consulting to continue building that community? And what's the best way for nonprofits and small businesses to be able to connect with Intent Consulting? Maybe they want
mhm,
to get more information or
sure.
get some deeper insights. What does that customer journey look like?
So as new folks are coming on, it's there's all kinds of challenges when it comes to sort of where you are. I see over and over, like lots of folks just don't know where to start. That
Yes.
is when you start. That is the starting point, right? Not and just saying, you know what, but if I could just do this, then just do that. That's
Right.
okay. Wherever in that circle you're starting, you don't necessarily have to have all these pieces in place before you just do something.
Ex-
Believing in the fact that you believe in this thing is enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, do that and let us help you to do that. Even if it's just being a cheerleader for you, that's okay. And that can be a struggle and it can be a challenge, but because we have, things to do, and that's one of our challenges, right? Is just saying yes to everybody and everything because it's nice, but I have two kids and bills to pay too.
Right.
But still, but that's hard that we all want to do all the things for all the people.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Knowing what your capacity is as a small business and or as a nonprofit, knowing what your limits are because you can burn out very, very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, energy for days and hustle, hustle, hustle. But you want to be able to do that over and over again.
Yes.
You want to be able to go home and actually read to your kids at night and actually enjoy them for 5 minutes and talk to your friends and see your partner and all that life, right? Live.
Exactly.
So have that balance. I would love to connect with more folks. We have a little bit of capacity. Team is growing. It is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of need in the city. Reach out to us on our website, intint.org, on Instagram, the same way, and Facebook and LinkedIn, all the same way. And yeah, there's a form right on there. You can fill that form in, set some time. There's a calendar date. You can set up your own time for an initial consult. You'll get an email right back. And we try to, as you do, try to automate as much as we can because that makes life a
Yeah.
little bit easier for everybody. So yeah, get a hold of us, and we are happy to help out in any way that we possibly can.
Okay, awesome. And are there any final words that you may have for
Hmm.
your ideal client or
Yeah.
any specific relationships or connections that you're looking to make on a business to
Hmm.
business level?
Sure. You know, the ideal client is interesting. Um, if you care about people, if you are the person who has an idea, who has a passion, who has an experience or some way that life has just shaped them into someone who gets it in that way, who is whether it's running a business and that's absolutely fine, or it's running a nonprofit, or it's doing both. Maybe you want to build a social enterprise, maybe you want to do something else.
Yes.
Um, Call us. That is people that are passionate in that way and that are
Yeah.
intentional about what they want to do and have an idea. Doesn't have to be totally thought out. That's what we're here for, right? We do program design, program development. That's kind of one of our fun things to do. So we can help you flush that out a little bit and help you strategize about what that needs to look like for you. But you can. Like I said, I have so many folks I've got two or three clients right now in particular who didn't do it until they did, that had this idea that were kind of sitting on the fence for the longest time, like, oh, I'm gonna do my 501(c)(3) eventually, or I'm gonna do my
Yeah.
LLC at some point. And I really believe in this thing and I know how to do this thing. Okay, come on,
Let's do it.
let's help you, right?
Yeah.
You're not by yourself. There's a whole community of folks out here that are willing to help and
Yeah.
willing to walk with you in that journey and pick you up when you stumble and you pick us up when we stumble.
Yeah.
We do this together and we figure it out together. So if you're that person, yeah, hit us up. You're our person.
Awesome. Awesome. And then as far as those business to business relationships, because we know how
Mhm.
important that is,
It
that business
is.
network as well to sustain and
Hmm.
you are falling short, like you said,
Yeah.
to tap in. So who would you consider to be your ideal business to business connection or your
Oh
um
goodness.
look, who are you looking
Oh
to
man.
shake hands with?
Call Michelle Obama for me real quick. No, I'm
Right.
kidding. Michelle, if you're watching, hit me up.
Yes.
Uh,
Five
you
five
know what?
five five five
Every
five 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 five
right.
five.
I'm a data nerd and a book nerd. So I love literature. I love as you are, I love writing. I'm not the only person on my team with a degree in English literature, which is funny because people think their degree should matter. It doesn't always. It can't. I'm not a lawyer, so it doesn't matter. But but um, I think that folks that are in business for there's things that they don't think necessarily fit all the time. I was talking to somebody the other day who's in financial planning. Didn't think that there was really a whole connection within the not-for-profit space. There absolutely is.
Yes.
Let's talk about how you talk to your clients about how they give. How do you
Yeah.
talk to them about legacy giving? How do you talk to them about how they build spaces for them to put their dollars in as they're building wealth? Um, Talking to healthcare. Um, Everything from there just isn't a no. There isn't a space
Right.
that involves people, that involves human beings, that doesn't get touched by the work that we do, I don't think.
Yeah.
So if I had an ideal, yeah, hand me over Michelle all day long, um, or somebody within the literary space. I don't, if I had a client who was a bookseller or publisher, oh my goodness, I think I would lose it. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be cool. That would be cool.
Yes, yes. Well, again, this has been so great learning more about your story, what got you into this space, getting those gems, because you dropped some gems today for nonprofits, some things for them to really start to think about with the change in the economy and everything that's happening down at Washington. And we're really excited that, clients are watching and tuning in and will be able to reach out to Intent Consulting because the work
Hmm,
that you're doing is just so amazing, so amazing. So,
thank you, Marla.
you're welcome. And as a company that also provides business consulting services, I have to say, I definitely look up to you. You're definitely an inspiration for me as well.
Oh, Marlo,
And so, we're
you're making me
all
blush.
yes,
You're making me blush.
well, right? We have to stay
Yeah, it's
coached.
hard. We have to.
Yes, because it's a constant learning, constant learning. So again, thank you so much, Remy, for
Thank you,
coming
Marlo.
to Radio
Thank you.
Detroit.
Yeah.
And guys, we'll be dropping her information in the description
Yes,
of
please.
this video. So please reach out. If you're interested, Remy, as well as our viewers out there, in connecting with the Small Business Nation, we are always looking to add more people to that community and start to really build that same culture that they've established down in Atlanta here in Detroit. So,
I love it.
yeah, so thank you so much, Remy.
I love it.
We
Thank you, Marlo.
again soon. But until then, keep changing lives, keep making an
Thank
impact,
you.
and you be
Right
blessed. Have
back
a
at
great
you.
one.
Right back at you. Be safe.
Yes,
We'll
thank
talk soon. All right.
you. All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.